Very, very happy to be addressing you all. In the last 10 years or 12 years, 13, 12, 13 years now, actually, 13 years, ever since we passed out from college, I have come to the campus two, three times, a couple of times for placements. I also did a talk for the EDC in 2017 or 18. So that's also when I came. So I have been in touch with the campus. This year also, we have hired a few people from IIT Guwahati, and I think they will be joining us soon, as and when it gets clear on when the semester is getting over. I think there's been some change in the plan thanks to this COVID situation. Um, Probably I'll start talking about my journey since the campus days, and then talk about YouthPad, Flipkart, Curefed in that order. So I think spending 4 years in the campus was one of the most beautiful memories I've ever had. It was not how it is currently. It was very, very different. A lot of we only had three or four hostels back then. Dihing and Kameng came in our last year, I think, and we were only three, four hostels. The last time when I visited, we could not see any open places. Earlier, if you had Kapili, you could see all the way to Kameng and all the way to the NAC, New Academic Complex, we used to call it back then. I don't know if it's still called that. So they were the four very, very important years of our lives, and I feel for all of you as well. People who are still in the campus, who have moved on from the campus and in their respective, careers now. I think that's where you get most of your confidence, most of your initial learnings of being yourself, being by yourself. And I think two or three things which helped me identify my interests and my skill sets and overall my passions was just working for Techniche. I think we spent a lot of time just building that. Now if I talk about a product, I think Techniche is a product where we have to figure out who will be interested in attending it, who will be interested in you know uh, working in the whole product. We did Techniche for the entire 4 years I was involved. And then I was also very deeply involved in the cricket team. That again is like a small product, because we didn't have a cricket ground for the first 2 years. We had to figure out a way to practice. Then when the inter IIT was happening for the first time in IIT Guwahati, we built a beautiful cricket ground, but it would rain all the way until October, November. So we'll get very little practice time, very little time to actually create the pitch or curate the pitch. So that was also a very, very good experience. And also, a couple of other things like just the Manthan bit. Like I was talking to Tejas before this talk started, that Manthan used to be such a beautiful experience. All of us coming together, bringing in the spirit of healthy competition and whatnot. And we went on to win Manthan once or twice, and that was a very, very great experience. So everything put together, all of these things put together, and of course all the technology and the access to technology, access to internet, computers, like whatnot, like the kind of facilities we all get at IITs is unmatched when it comes to just the academics, the quality of academics. So and lastly, the experience that we got while we were at uh, you know uh, in the internship after third year. I think a lot of us ended up going to Europe for internship. The exposure to universities there, and more importantly, just the life that we got to live there, on how you can be yourself, how can you be by yourself, travel a bit, also just go around meeting people. It was a great experience. So by the time you finish your 4 years, you realize that you've changed so much as a person, your perspective has changed so much, and more importantly, you have like really grown as a person. And that is something which I experienced personally, and I really, really value, and I'm very grateful to what the IIT Guwahati gave me during those 4 years. When I was completing my graduation, my bachelor's degree in IIT Guwahati, it became increasingly clear to me that it will be a very long journey of entrepreneurship. I did not take up the job which was there in the campus. I figured out a small startup where I could work. I started a 2 or 3 month internship in a startup right after my IIT, and worked there for 3 months just to understand how basic things work. While you're a student, there's so many things that you're not aware of in the real world, and more so in Guwahati. Like back then, the exposure to outer world was very limited. We would never go to the main city ever. It would be like once in 20 days, once in 15 days that we would go, and that too just to eat and come back, like nothing else. So I worked in a startup for 3 to 4 months, and I realized that a lot can be learned. And using those 3 4 months of learning, I launched YouthPad. YouthPad was supposed to be a social media engagement platform. It was a marketing platform for brands. It was not the best time. I launched my startup 1 month after the Lehman Brothers crash. So the entire sentiment of the market was very low. It was a marketing platform, but brands did not have a lot of marketing budget. And that's where I really struggled for 1.5 years, tried to make something happen, got some traction. I remember small wins, like people back then for internet companies, there used to be a Google page rank as a metric, and each time the page rank would improve, you would feel so proud because it's a very good metric of how good your product is, how good your organic traffic is. All of these things happened, and by the time 2009 end came, after spending a lot of time on this business, I realized that it's not going anywhere. I was not able to raise funds. I was not able to hire a team because I didn't have enough money. I hired some people, and but you need the best talent to make a startup. And that's when, interestingly, we started hearing about this startup which had like 1 crore a month revenue. And back then, like my total cumulative revenue in the entire 1.5 2 years of journey would have been 1 crore. And I was like, wow, like how can a startup have 1 crore a month revenue? And that's when we figured out. Then that's when I met Binny and Sujit, who were the founding team of Flipkart, of course. And I realized that they're onto something really big. 1 crore a month revenue is like massive in 2009, when it was like almost doomsday. The situation was, of course, not as bad as it is today because everything is shut down. But the situation was really, really bad. Like there were no big VCs in the country. For anyone to start up, it would require a lot of courage, a lot of risk taking. And into 2000, early 2000, February 2010, I decided to join hands with them, and I joined the Delhi office. They were trying to set up a new business. Until then, Flipkart was just a book website. I'm sure most of you would not be knowing that. A lot of you are much younger and would have seen Flipkart as this big e-commerce company. And in 2010, when I joined, the first mandate was to launch newer categories. So we decided to launch all the categories which are very close to books. So if you'd go to a bookstore in those days, they also would have video games, all the PlayStation games and Microsoft Xbox games. Then you'd also have DVDs of movies. Of course, it's all such a old world now, but we launched all those verticals. Slowly started launching smaller electronics. Smaller electronic means USB drive, headphones, and we realized that whatever we are putting onto the platform, people are buying, and that's because it was solving the problem of reach. People wanted to buy a lot of new products, a lot of new stuff, and people did not know where to buy from. I remember when I came to IIT Guwahati in 2011 for placements. Back then, I realized that so many of our students were buying from Flipkart, and most of them were buying DVDs, game DVDs. A lot of them were buying books. USB drives was the most sold. I checked up the data. USB drive was the most sold products. Keyboard, mice, all of that. And that's when I realized that in 2010-11 is when Flipkart realized that they're onto something big. And to make the product even better, we continued to do a lot of innovation. Cash on delivery was a big, big innovation which we started. Because we could do cash on delivery, we could reach many, many cities in the country where people would not have credit card, would not have a lot of these features. Then we also launched 30-day return because we wanted to launch phones as a category. We, of course, Flipkart's biggest category is phones. It is insanely big. They are 15 to 20% of all phones sold in the country. It's massive as a metric. And we realized that to sell phones, we need to have a lot of trust. People will not spend 20, 30, 40,000 rupees on a website which is not there. Like imagine our parents in our towns back. Will they say, okay, I'm buying this phone from Flipkart, but what if it does not work? And that's when we launched 30-day return policy. So cash on delivery and 30-day return policy was a great innovation. It just took off our sales completely. And that's when we realized that we need one more innovation. We cannot continue working with only DTDCs and Blue Darts of the world, because these two products, both COD and 30-day return replacement, we require a very, very good logistics partner in 300-400 cities in the country. And that's when the biggest innovation for Flipkart came, which is now the most common thing. If you're an e-commerce company, you will have a delivery fleet, but it was not the case back then. We launched eCart Logistics, which is now India's largest logistics company. It's humongous. and a lot of innovation could be done with that. And by 2012, we became a very, very large electronics player. Things were going very well. But if you look at retail, if you go to a mall, you would notice that 50% shops are clothes and shoes. So that is the reality of retail, modern retail. And to make sure that people continue to, buy a lot of stuff on Flipkart, we decided to launch fashion. Fashion, of course, had its own nuances. People need to exchange because they need to try the sizes. The size might not fit, but if you buy something and you have to ship it back, then it's a very long cycle. So we decided to do many, many new features. We started hand-in-hand exchange. If you order a T-shirt, you try that T-shirt. If you don't fit, if that size does not fit, you can ask for a bigger size. When the bigger size is delivered, that's exactly when we'll pick it up. Unlike many older e-commerce companies which were doing fashion like Jabong back then, where you had to ship your product back yourself, it was a pretty big gap. That's not how experiences should be. So that's exactly when we also decided to say that we will launch this hand-in-hand exchange. We started doing fashion, we did really well, but then there was Myntra, which always continued to be ahead of us. And 2014 is when Mukesh, who was the founder of Myntra was this beautiful e-commerce site for clothes and shoes, continues to be a very, very top-notch fashion destination. In 2014, all of us decided to merge, and Flipkart and Myntra came together, and our market share in fashion just went through the roof. And 2014 to 2016, we continued growing the business, and we became number one in fashion. We became number one in smartphones. Of course, that Amazon competition became very fierce. Flipkart had 1 or 2 bad years, then bounced back. So overall, the journey from just being a books player to being a multi-category player was there. By 2016, I realized I had spent over 6 years in Flipkart, and I, of course, had this thing in my mind that I have been a failed entrepreneur. While Flipkart itself was a entrepreneurial journey, I don't think it was ever made to be as though I am an employee. I was an early employee. My employee number was 33, and I think I was very, very happy with what I learned there. Vinny, Sachin, Sujit, they always made sure that we feel that we are equals. We all are founders. It was an amazing journey, tons of learnings. And 2016 is when I decided to move on. Interestingly, Mukesh, who joined our team after the Myntra Flipkart merger and was running the Flipkart business for 2 years, also decided to move on because he'd spent over 10 years now, 8 years Myntra, 2 years at Flipkart doing commerce. And that's when and of course me and Mukesh built a very good rapport while at Flipkart. And that's when we started talking and decided that there's a new opportunity which we should pursue, like how Flipkart Myntra disrupted commerce, disrupted buying. We can actually disrupt other industries, and there were many candidates. Health was one, education was another, transportation, technology, energy. After a lot of deliberation, a lot of research, in 2-3 months, we realized that we want to do health. Very clear aspects of why health. Health is basically a large category, completely fragmented. People, there are no big brands. If I have to ask you, tell me a big health brand. Some people might say Apollo Hospital. Some people might say Protein X powder. But there is no Amazon equivalent for health. And funnily enough, all the large companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, none of them have launched a very large health product. I think Apple iWatch is the largest health product from these 4 companies. And that's a very, very niche product. While all of them have apps for almost everything, none of them have a large health app. All of them have step tracking, this and that, but none of them have done a brilliant job. So we felt that it's a best opportunity to create a platform, multi-category platform. Why multi-category? Health as a category needs multiple touch points. If you want to be healthy, you need to sleep on time, you need to eat healthy, you need to work out, you need to meditate, you need to do your tests regularly. If you have some niggle, you need to talk to your therapist and doctor. Today, they will, even in US, interestingly enough, even today, even in US, you have to have 5 different apps for all of this. But at CureFit, we have tried to solve it. And I'll talk until March of this year what we did and what we're trying to do post the pandemic. So by March, until for the 4 years from 2016 May until 2020 March, idea was to build a multi-category platform. Imagine like Amazon for health, where you are building your own products, you're also selling third-party products, you're also trying to create digital products. So I'll tell you what would CureFit be. in 2025, and then I'll come back. In 2025, we expect CureFit to be a multi-category health platform where people can post their goals. The goals could be, I just want to be healthy, I want to lose weight, I want a better mental health, I want a better immunity, anything like that. And to pursue that goal, you have all the steps: what you need to eat, what you need to do, what you need to, how much you need to sleep, what you need to meditate. And for that, you will have either products from CureFit stable, or it will be third party products. We could be selling a third party product or creating our own product. There will also be a lot of digital products, because as a company we cannot reach out to all the cities. So what did we achieve in the last 4 years? We achieved creating 270 fitness centers across 20 cities in the country. We created 190 odd kitchens where we were delivering hot food, which is, tasty, healthy, nutritious food. We had about 10 clinics where we were doing doctors and tests and everything. And we also had a unit where we were selling health merchandise: shoes, clothes, fitness bands, and whatnot. So slowly it was becoming a big platform. We had 2 million users, daily transactions of 250,000, and we were doing very well. We were able to raise $400 million till date. Things were going very, very well with our plan A, but life always does not work, as per plan A. And then this situation happened. And with this situation, it became clear that we had a large part of offline business, and that offline business cannot, continue in the current form. We had 300 outlets across the country, and the plan was to take it to 1,000 outlets by 2025. But we realized that for the next 12 to 18 months, offline outlets cannot be our main business. Even until the vaccine is found, even after the lockdown is lifted, people get back to normalcy, gyms and eateries are two places where we will see the lowest amount of footfall. Even when we open, we don't expect thousands of people to come back. People will be very, very nervous. They will be very, very wary of, coming back to a crowded place. So 14th of March, when we decided to shut down our QSR restaurants, clinics of course continue to run on a thin population only for essential services, and gyms, it became clear that we have been massively disrupted by the situation, and we decided to pivot quickly into a digital offering. I don't know how many of you have tried the CureFit app on the digital offering. Probably a quick show of hand on the chat would be useful. But we, used all the resources that we had on, on the fitness side, and launched a digital offering. Right now, it's free of cost, and we are trying to create a platform which is now digital and physical in nature. So with all the verticals that are already there, we have a new vertical, which is a digital vertical, and we believe that these verticals, will continue to grow even after the shutdown gets over, even after the vaccine is found. The world will change in a very, very big way. The world will, not be the same again. I think most companies need to understand that three things have happened. One, 12 to 15 month of business disruption. We will continue to see very, very low demand in many categories. Second thing which has happened is, because people have been locked down for so long, habit changes have happened. I think a lot of people who are never working out are working out now. A lot of people who used to work out on in gyms are now working out at home. So that could be a permanent change. It's very well articulated and documented in the world that 21 days of habit change, of doing something, changes your habit permanently. In this case, it's been 40 plus days, close to 50 days now actually. So we feel that a large part of population would change. And third is economy. I don't want to make you guys nervous. Some of you are still in college, some of you are just in the verge of finishing college, some of you are early job seekers. But I feel that the economy would be very, very different in the next 18 months from what it has been. It would be at a point where, uh, the world is very different. We have to figure out what new skill sets we need. We need to figure out a completely new economic structure. India and a lot of developing countries, including actually developed countries like US also, will see massive, massive unemployment, and a lot of services will be digital. Uh, because of the unemployment, the consumption will go down. Because of consumption, GDP growth will be flat. So we all need to just be aware of all this. And as a company, we are taking all the steps to, make sure that by 2021 end, when the world is in a better place, no economic recession cycle can last more than 12 to 18 months. By 2021 end, it is very clear that the vaccine would have been found, the economic recession will be on the fag end. We want to make sure that we continue building health products which people would need. Health awareness would be at the next level. People would have, found a new hobby in health, and also would find the requirement to do that. I think all of these things put together will be at a point where we would, if we create a good product, if we preserve cash, if we survive, we'll be in a good place. Last 1 week has been very, very turbulent. So most of you would have read all the social media uproar, around some of the layoffs we had to do. We decided to shut down some of our outlets in the tier 3 cities, which we recently launched. Idea was to go very deep in tier 3, tier 2 cities in 2020. But because of this situation, we are sure that we'll not be expanding in these cities. So we shut down just the bottom 10% centers, or the new 10% centers, about 20-25 centers, which we had recently launched. We shut them down because we are not planning to launch any more centers in those cities. So there's no point running 1 or 2 centers in these cities. And because of that, we had to let go of some of our team members. We, of course, made sure that they, get the right kind of support. We have different programs. We have severance. We have layoff. We have insurance. We have also created an emergency fund in case someone is not able to find the job, or still needs support. But of course, I understand that I understand the reason for the social media uproar, because people would think that we could have supported them longer. But of course, we had given them 3 months of salary till date, and we still have 2,400 trainers, 2,300 trainers with us, with for whom we'll continue to paying salary until the situation rides out. So we also, as a company, need to make sure that the larger set of business, larger set of population survives. So that is the some bit on what happened in the last 1 week. But overall, business is in fine shape. The digital is taken off like anything. About 1 million people use our workout products every day across all the channels that we have, and numbers continue to grow. It's a great validation of the fact that a digital product can be there for fitness. And I am very confident that once the world opens up and things get back to normalcy, overall health would be in a very, very overall health uh, ability to sell a health product, or keenness to buy a health product, would be at peak. So we should get to a point where overall people would want to buy health, would want to invest in health, and we would be creating very, very good products, so that we continue helping millions of people staying healthy. Overall, I feel very happy with what we've created. Of course, there is room for improvement, and I'm sure some of you use our products and be happy to take feedback. So I'll take a pause now. We'll keep it very interactive. I'll answer some questions if you have, and then we can continue chatting. So, Aditya, how do we do this? Should I read out the questions and take them, or how do you want to do this?
Uh,
Okay. So I think I only have one question until now, about the monetization plan for digital offerings. So in digital, we have two sets of offerings right now. One is a live class, or a Netflix-like offering for fitness, where people can log on to classes and do the class along with many, many people, and work out along with a trainer. Second is a one-on-one consultation platform. So one-on-one consultation platform is where you can consult a trainer one-on-one. It will be a personal class. Likewise, you can consult a doctor, or a therapist, or a nutritionist. So the this part of business is already monetized. We get about 2,000 transactions a day right now. It's very new, this offering. 2,000 people log on to the platform, pay anywhere between 500 to 1,000 rupees a day, and consult a specialist. The other part, which is live classes, there is it was free until now. I think in next 10 days we will make it monetizable. There will be a 10-day trial period. Then there will be premium content, and we need to make sure that figure out how they get some free content, but a lot of premium content. So some content will continue to be free forever, but there'll be a lot of premium content where you'll have to pay 300-400 rupees a month to access.
Sir, if you
Um,
look at the questions tab, we have received many questions, and also we
where do I
received
look
a
at
few.
that? I can't find that tab. I can't
Uh,
find
s-
that tab.
Sir, at the right part of the screen,
Oh,
below
I
chat.
found it. I found it. I was looking at the chat, not the questions. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'll read. A lot of startups became because what they were because survived the 2008 housing crisis. Which startups are you going to watch out of the situation? Very good question. I think 2008. If I just so of course in India post 2008, Flipkart got created, Zomato got created, and all the startups are post 2008. Ola got created. So I think we will get point where a lot of these startups will, become bigger. But if you look at which startup in India will ride out this wave, the characteristics will be very simple. It will be a startup which has ability to become profitable and can have a very digital nature. So I think a lot of education startups, An Academy, Byju's, I also feel CureFit, because of our digital first approach now. So a lot of startups which have a digital first approach and has at home consumption and has a ability to become profitable, they will do really really well. So I feel An Academy, Byju, uh, Urban Clap is another company which has a large set of offerings for at home. So a lot of companies where they can give products at home, they will do really well. Yeah.
All
Second
right, sir. And
question.
I'll also pick a few. There are many, and we also received few from our students. So
Okay.
one of our viewer asked, being from a design background, how difficult was it to move into management, and how did you transition this journey?
Just give me 1 second. Yeah. Yeah, so I think the best part of studying design was that it gave a very holistic approach to many professions in the country. I think the whole study about usability, user experience, interaction design. I think it just was the best time to study design because exactly that time the whole mobile revolution, mobile technologies, and the app boom was about to hit, and a lot of things which we did then just seems such a natural part of what we need to do. I think management as a skill is overrated. It is something which you learn on the job, and it is very intrinsic. It is not something that you need to study or learn. Of course, if you end up doing an MBA, your skills get polished. It's a great exposure. You learn things the right way. But also a lot of management experts learn things by themselves and by reading. I end up investing a lot of time on reading, and it definitely helps me a lot. Yeah.
Right. So Bagadi asks, how did you convince your parents when you were not going to sit for placements? And I'll add a bit to it that how do you make like tough career decisions that are going to affect a large part of your life?
I think convincing parents was an easier job because my father has himself been a entrepreneur or a trader or a family business kind of a person. Not of course as big as how startups become these days, but he was able to create a create a small business for himself. So I was able to explain it to him that I want to follow a similar path. At no point I thought the businesses that I'm involved in will become so big. I'm fortunate enough to have seen those journeys, but I was very clear that I want to have a small business of my own because that's what excited me always. So I think convincing parents was the easier part. Convincing myself on taking the risk was tougher because right after college, all my friends, would move to Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi. Of course, I was in Gurgaon for the first 2.5 years, 3 years, and I realized that I didn't have any disposable income to enjoy. And then the same set of people ended up doing MBAs and MS, and then their life, which they live right now, is also like I sometimes envy the kind of life they live in US. It's such a good life. So I think sometimes it's just difficult to settle down for the tougher path. I feel that entrepreneurship is one of the most tough paths, but if it works out, it is very fulfilling because you end up giving employment to thousands of people, end up solving very, very tough problems. I feel that overall it has been very, very fruitful.
We have a question from Madhulika. She asks, mental health unfortunately is still considered a taboo in the Indian mindset. How are you addressing this, and will this impact your discovery and lead generation?
Right. So I'll tell you a very interesting stat. Today, I spoke about the one-on-one consultation platform where people can talk to experts on a small price. About 15-20% of all consultations are mental wellness therapy, and people are coming out saying that they're anxious, they're depressed, they are lonely, and this I don't think would have happened a few years back. People would think it's a taboo. Also, a few 100,000 people meditate on our app every day with very, very clear goals that I want to be less stressed, I want to be less anxious, I want to sleep better. If coronavirus would not have hit India, I would have always said that mental wellness or depression is the biggest epidemic that can hit India, and that's still true. As modern professionals, the kind of pressures we are exposed to, the kind of life we are leading, even in a lockdown, working from home, it is just super stressful. Meditation is super important. Talking to a therapist is very important. I think as a company, we have done well in very slowly nudging our customers to all of these things. And I feel that it will become very mainstream. Like in developed economies, having a therapist is a very essential need. I feel we'll go that way. Our marketing will continue to be very subtle. We talk about the need to meditate, and
So Mitanshu asks, what would be your advice to a recent graduate who aims of founding a startup one day? Should he work in an early stage startup, and what activity should he explore in
I will
campus?
also link that question to another question which I'm seeing from Aniket Mandle about whether a person should join a startup or corporate in the time of pandemic. So, if someone is about to finish their fourth year this year, my strong advice would be to go for a company which is very, very stable. If at all, they are still hiring and all the similar things. Idea would be to at least get 1 or 2 years of stable learning. And when I say stable, someone who can just ensure that you get a basic salary in place and a lot of learnings. But anyone who's very keen to start up, I think the biggest way of starting up is to work in a startup itself. So if you want to start up, if you're still in college, you need to start just taking a lot of risks. Taking a lot of risks mean, I know when you're taking up an elective, I think there was this humanities elective, right? A lot of people would not take up economics because the chances of getting a good grade is lower. That's what I remember from what my days were. I remember taking up economics each time, and I feel I got bad grades, but it was a great learning. So I realized that these are small ways of taking risks in life, and I think those 4 or 5 times that I took the economics elective is my best learning in IIT. I would say that I've never had a better learning experience other than those 4 or 5 economics electives. So that is an example of risk taking. I don't know how many of you, right now can resonate with what I've said, but this is a very small way of taking risks. Likewise, if you're taking up a job, a lot of people, stability is absolutely important. There is no doubt that we need stability. We have dependents. We need to support our families. They have invested so much in us over the years. Once we start earning, we need to support them, but also slight risk. If there is a company like Unilever, which is the best place to work, I would say, as a young graduate, because the kind of learnings you'll get there is insane. But if Unilever is paying 50,000, and you know that you'll go to a startup like Ola, for example. Of course, Ola is very big and a brilliant place to work, and they're paying 40,000. I would go for Ola because you know that the learning could be more because it's still a startup. So I would suggest that start taking risks in life. Taking risks would be, if you're on an internship, just go venture out in a city where you would not have any help. If you're internship doing an internship in Bombay, one fine day on a weekend, just take a bus to Thane, or or do a road drive to Pune, and just explore Pune. Figure out what city is it, what kind of things happen, what are the economic activities, and just learn. I think you need to be like a sponge. I think from an age group of 18 to 30, people are like sponges. You need to be like a sponge, absorb everything around you. Advice for next 2 years: go for a very stable option, because then you will be very strong. If you go for an option where you are worried about losing your job, worried about joining aayegi nahi aayegi, I think it will be very tough. So my strong advice: if you have a startup or a company where you have an offer from and you feel it is good, take it. But if you think that your startup, and there would be cases, some of the startups might pull back offers, don't get disheartened. World will not get over. In 2008 and 9, that's the period when I started up, and that's the period when a lot of people, one of my friends finished his MBA from IIM Lucknow, did not get a job. He's doing absolutely fine. So in 10 years, everyone is stable. I remember Sachin Bhatia, who runs a startup, Drishti, and he had come to our campus. We were still in third year. It's a brilliant startup and one of the best startups to come out of IIT Guwahati. Very stable business. And we were talking to him कि अरे क्या होगा लाइफ में, बहुत टेंशन है, ये है, third fourth year, what typically he told us, everyone who has completed their degrees from IIT 10 years from now will have minimum, back then I'm talking about back then, minimum 1 lakh salary, which is of course 2 lakhs today, 2.5 lakhs today, or whatever, because 15 years back 1 lakh is 2.5. So I'm assuring this today, each one of you who is in campus right now, who is in the first 2 years of your jobs, by 2030 you will all be very stable. So don't worry if you have one bad year, 2 bad years. Life is this, life is always a great leveler. Some people get a bad year 10 years after their journey, some people get a bad year right at the beginning of your journey. So I would recommend, just take it. One very popular thing which I keep saying, assume your life is 40 quarters. Over the next 10 years you have 40 quarters. To be happy in life, you just need 25 good quarters, because 25 is more than 15 average or bad quarters, right? So 25 good quarters, that could happen probably 25 quarters at a stretch, or 2 3 quarters, 2 3 quarters. But on the flip side, you might get 15 bad quarters right at the beginning of your career. That would mean 3.5 4 years, really a lot of struggle. But I'm promising you, in 10 years time, in 2030, when you will look back, you will remember this talk, and I'm promising you, each one of you will be super happy in life and super stable. Just keep yourself completely open to learning. Just continue to learn every single.
Sunil asks how to overcome the situation when your business or startup isn't going down, like nothing feels right and it's not in your control. How do you still stay motivated and keep on focusing?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, Aditya. I'll take our example, right? So things could not have been any better. Things like, I think we were onto something really big. Every city, if you would have visited any metro city, you would have seen a cult center. Every nook and corner, it was I used to see a lot of memes around cult, that map रास्ता रास्ता पूछना है तो कल्ट से बताएंगे कि एक कल्ट सेंटर से आगे जाओ, दूसरे कल्ट सेंटर से लेफ्ट लो, इस टाइप के मीम्स देखता था मैं. And today we are shut. And if you look at any government advisory on pandemic, clearly लिखा होता है कि gyms allowed नहीं है खुलना. And I know that it will continue to happen for next 3 to 4 months. But I'm actually asking you, so many people are there in the crowd right now, right? Over 100 people. How many of you would be happy to go to a gym in next 6 to 12 months? I don't think anyone would want to. जब तक वैक्सीन नहीं आती है, वो कैसे जाएंगे जिम? Gym is such a social place. So now we know that our business is shut. A business which was running, which was giving us insane revenue, which was such a loved brand, it is shut. And of course, it will come back in 12 to 18 months, but we need to make something out of the current situation. So we have launched the digital offering. It may or may not work. Once we make it paid, maybe people go away. But that's exactly how life is. Yeah, matlab, you have to keep trying. But one thing is important. You need to figure out what will keep you going. For a business that is as large as us, we have so many people as employees, so many partners. We cannot go bust, and we need to preserve cash. So company like Ola, Uber, Swiggy, Zomato, सबका business hit हुआ है, और उन सबको हम, including us, we need to preserve cash. कि जिस दिन situation improve होगी, उस दिन we need to be able to fight. Likewise for you, probably many of you would not have raised funds till date, and you have an idea. For you, that cash is your energy and passion. पहले 2 3 साल for a startup, the currency is only energy and passion, and that's what you need to have. If you fail, दोबारा try करो, 3 बार try करो, 4 बार try करो, but learn each time, and also know what will keep you going. जब कैश है तो कैश विल बी अ वेरी बिग करेंसी, बट तब तक स्किल, एनर्जी, पैशन, पॉजिटिविटी, एंथुजियाज्म, उसको रखना पड़ेगा. दैट्स हाउ इट हैपेंस.
Aniket asks, what is the mindset of investors now? Are they looking for long-term investments or safe bets? How does this affect startups looking to get funded right now?
I think I'll be very upfront. If you have a new idea right now and you're looking to go to an investor, your chances of getting funded is lower in the next 12 months. It will again go back to the normal. मतलब 12-18 महीने की cycle होती है हमेशा. What will happen in the next 12 to 18 months? A lot of startups which are in safe zone. जिनका रेवेन्यू है, प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी है, डिजिटल है, at home hai, they will see a lot of funding. So winners will get more money. People who have a good business but they have started somewhere, they will get money. Companies which are not in digital space, at home space, health space, education space will have lower chances of funding. And also companies which are burning a lot of money. Just because a company is saying कि मेरा revenue 100 million है लेकिन मैं burn करता हूँ 50 million महीने एक साल का, उनकी funding मुश्किल होगी. So profitable digital first businesses will do well.
We have a question from Puru. He asks, what was your MVP for CureFit? How did you figure out these features should be a part of MVP, and what did the process look like?
हमारा MVP was one gym. We realized that for a customer to be healthy, we need to figure out how many times will a customer use our app. Healthy रहने के लिए you need to do something every day. We wanted to see how many customers will open our app every day. We have a very strong philosophy in organization. हम उसको बोलते हैं 1000 true fans. हमारा we have not invented it. It's a very popular management theory that if you want to design a product, until you get to a time where 1000 people are using your product every day, they love you, they can kill for you, they can do anything for you, till then you don't come out of MVP. MVP for some kids in the campus who might not know is minimum viable product, कि इतना basic product बनाओ जिससे कि grow कर सके. For us MVP was one gym in Sarjapur, in one locality in Bangalore. हमने कहा कि हम वो gym बनाएंगे और 1000 लोग जब तक regularly नहीं आएंगे, we will not get into any other business. For two tech entrepreneurs, Mukesh and Ankit, and such a large tech team, the first product was just one offline gym. Uspe we kept adding digital features, and it became a digitally enabled gym. It was, I think I would say it was safely the most digitally enabled gym in the world and still is. And because of the digital features, people kept coming back earlier. But the real proof in the pudding was the product itself. लोगों को वो जिम अच्छा लगा क्योंकि वहां पे उनके गोल्स मीट हो रहे थे. But digital helped them being more regular. So our offline gym was our MVP.
Shubham Parikh asks, is it important to be a tech guy to start a tech startup? And if not, then how can we develop our solution from a problem at initial level with low capital?
Say that again, sorry.
He asks, is it important to be a tech guy to run a tech startup? And how can we develop our solution from problems at initial level with a low funding?
I think there is no concept of a tech guy and non-tech guy. There is either an engineering co-founder or the operations co-founder. Both have to be tech. Without tech, kuch nahi hoga. You need to have a very strong bent of mind for tech. You need to have a product thinking. But if you are starting a company, if one of the co-founders is not an engineering person, it is very difficult because you cannot hire third-party engineers to build a company. It always has to be at least two people. Alone, you should never start up. That's my learning from YouthPad days and everything. And imagine if I was just alone right now, how will I take so many decisions? Just because both Mukesh and I are there, we are able to navigate through so many tough challenges. But if you're not an engineer, if you don't have your skills in coding, it will be very, very tough. So I would say you need to have an engineering co-founder for sure.
Sunil is asking for any resources for learning about equity distribution between co-founders and investors.
I think there are a lot of good blogs available. ESOPs के ऊपर, so a lot of good resources are there. So I think it'll be easy to find. You'll be able to find a lot of resources on the internet on how to distribute equity amongst co-founders, how to create an ESOP program, how to give what guidelines to use while giving ESOPs to early employees, etc.
So, like you said, you're an avid reader. Any 2 or 3 set of books you'd like to recommend to our students who are in college?
Yeah, I think very easy answer for me because I answer this question a lot. The first one is the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi. I absolutely love it. It is one of the best written books about the journey. It's not that you need to follow those philosophies. Not that you need to become a vegetarian or you need to stop drinking and all of that. It's about a journey. It's about transformation. It's about resolution. So I think the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, which is called My Experiments with Truth, it is one of the best books. Second one is Cosmos. I feel it should be a textbook for all school students. Cosmos, for those who have read, And for those who have not read, it is like almost like an autobiography of space. It is about how universe got created, what was the journey which the universe took. It is by Carl Sagan. I would strongly recommend it to all of you. I think it's very good because it's so foundational. It just helps you understand things pieces by pieces. The third one, which is uh, it's not a book. There are many versions of that book. I think the best one which I have read is Difficulty of Being Good by Gurcharan Das. But Mahabharat, I feel Mahabharat is one fiction or non-fiction or reality or biography, but everything put together, it is a very good. It helps you understand human emotions really well. It helps you understand relationships. It helps you understand a lot of psychology, philosophy, strategy. So the one which I strongly recommend is The Difficulty of Being Good by Gurcharan Das. It is a modern take on Mahabharat. And of course, then there is another book which is the autobiography of Karan. It is called Mrityunjay. It is another version of Mahabharat. So I've read many, many versions of Mahabharat. I think that is one other book. And I read it not like a mythological book, I read it like a strategy fiction. We'll take
Thanks.
five more questions. We'll take five more questions.
Yeah, sir. Sure. So we have a question. He asked, "What does a typical day in your life look like?" His question was, how is the life of a founder as compared to as what is portrayed by the media? Like
I will talk about myself, and that to pre-COVID days. Right now, though, it's all over the place because of these digital calls and all of that. Um, I think most successful people, and I try to copy them, have a very fixed schedule. I have a very fixed schedule. I try and get up, sneak in a workout, early in the day, 1 hour of workout every day. Then give some more time to yourself, just planning and thinking through the day. Then get started, go to office, spend about 9 to 10 hours in office minimum, and then get back, get 15-20 minutes of downtime, spend time with my son and my wife, and then just try and sleep early. So I now right now the schedule is all over the place, but typically I would go to bed by 10:30, get up by 5:36, and try and sneak in 30 minutes of reading also. My reading has gone down significantly in the last 1 or 2 years, but earlier I would easily get 1 hour of reading every day. I think that's one habit which I have let go. I don't watch Netflix. That's a very I have never watched. I think barring one or two series, I've not watched any other thing. Neither do I watch documentaries or any movies. If at all I have to watch movie, I used to go to theater. So my consumption on digital media is almost zero. If I have to watch any documentary, I end up watching it on YouTube because I feel YouTube is not addictive. Netflix is. So I have at least 1 or 2 hours of extra time every day because I'm not hooked on to Netflix or Prime. In fact, in the entire pandemic, I've only watched one movie, and that's the only screen time I had because there's enough screen time thanks to Zoom calls.
Okay, so we'll take 2 or 3 more questions.
Yeah.
Yash asks, "What are your views about starting up while working? Would you
starting up
recommend
while
it?"
starting up while working is the only way you should do that. You should never quit to start up. I think there should be a 3 to 6 months of seamless transition where you start up while ramping down on your project. You should be super convinced about an idea. I have seen the biggest mistake 99% people make. They first decide that they have to start up and then they find an idea. I think this is the worst thing which people do, and this is the biggest recipe for disaster. I think that's my only thing. If you have an idea, get obsessed with it. If you get to a stage that you're losing sleep because of the idea, then only start up. अगर नींद आना बंद हो जाए because of that idea, then only start up.
Okay, so last question. Umang asks, how will automated and remote services are going to help companies as well as consumers now and after this pandemic?
I think automated remote services, AI, robotics, मतलब वो whether pandemic happens or not, it is the future. Yeah. Like right now, so many people are in disguised unemployment. It's good that they're getting paid and it's good that it's generating employment. But sooner or later, वो disruption आएगा जहाँ पे a lot of automation is cutting jobs, and uska ek hi solution hai that people have to become self-employed. A lot more people have to get into entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship का मतलब ये नहीं एक cool tech startup करना है, एक अच्छी छोटी सी दुकान खोल के उसमें business करना is entrepreneurship. To become a trader on Flipkart and Amazon as a seller is entrepreneurship. So I think I think there will be a time where many companies will say ki robotics and AI have taken over your jobs. Before we hit that stage, people have to become self-employed, and 90% of self-employed people will just be small traders, small manufacturers, home manufacturing, trading, and that's how it should be.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable time. Your journey was really insightful. On an ending note, as most of our viewers are students, college students, anything you'd like to say particular?
I think it's very relevant, and I think assuming that out of the 125 people who are watching on this channel, and you mentioned some are watching on Facebook also, I think there will be three sets of people. People who are who've spent more than 3-4 years in the job, people who are in the early stage of the job, and third students. तीनों के लिए यही एडवाइस मैंने पहले बोला था कि अगले 18 महीने टफ हो सकते हैं, बट देयर इज नथिंग दैट यू कैन ओवरकम. Some of you might lose your job, some of you might get a salary cut, some of you actually might not get a job from campus. It is not the end of the world. Any of you need any help, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm very, very accessible, most happy to help you in any possible way. I wish you all a very, very safe next few months. If you have time on your hand, just read. That's one piece of advice. I think if something has changed me is just traveling and reading. Of course, traveling का मतलब ये नहीं है कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया जाके travel करो. Traveling, my best way of traveling was to traveling to tier 2 cities and just exploring the city on foot. And that was my biggest learning, observing people. अभी वो भी नहीं कर सकते हो तो just read. जितना टाइम नेटफ्लिक्स पे लगाते हो, जितना टाइम प्राइम पे लगाते हो, आधा घंटा निकाल के just read. It will change your life.
Sure, sir. How can anyone reach you? LinkedIn, Twitter?
LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile is open. You can send me a message. It is very easy to reach me. And yeah, please feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
We'll love to have you.
Yes,
we'll love to have you in campus anytime possible.
Anytime तो क्या 12 महीने तो travel restricted ही रहेगा, फिर देखते हैं.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.